everyone. How are you? And welcome to the next part of our Gravitas podcast interview series. And I'm so excited to have with us the lovely Edward Zia.
Jenny and our wonderful viewers, I was going to say I'm honoured to be here. And I've got to say, Jenny, what an amazing location that we're in.
I know. And guess who picked it?
Jenny picked it. It wasn't me. It was Jenny, okay? It was Jenny. It wasn't me.
You guys, I can't promise you what's going to happen on this interview. We're just going to fly by the seat of our pants.
Yes.
And it's a hot day, so anything goes.
In fact, it's 34 degrees last time I checked. There's big bushfires all across New South Wales, and there's so much wind right now, isn't there?
Oh my God. And on the newspapers today, it's like, an inferno Armageddon. So it's bad news all around, but we're hoping to bring great news, good news to you through this interview. The reason I picked Edward to come on board with this interview is, for one reason, I've been watching him for 2 years now. And Edward, 2 years. Edward, he was first introduced to me 2 years ago, got in touch, and me, a bit of a prima donna, I won't deny, I took my time. He said, Jenny, come out to my meetups, come out to my workshops. I said, no, I'm too busy. And finally, when I did, I understood I should have gone sooner. Edward is a genius when it comes to marketing, especially on LinkedIn. He has all the right formulas for growing your LinkedIn engagement, for your following, for just like the most brilliant things to do with LinkedIn and to add value to people's lives. Edward is also Mr. Positivity.
And you know what? I think being positive is a great choice because I think being positive is better than being negative.
True. So this is going to be an interesting discussion because there are some things that we both agree on. Actually, most things we both agree on, and some things we differ on, which is okay. We can still be friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that's not why I've got him on the show.
No. Hell no.
I warned you.
Yeah.
Now, Edward, he's been following my work, so he knows what I try to do or what my focus is when it comes to gravitas. And for the benefit of our viewers, gravitas stands for your values, your mastery, your influence, and your passion. It's about the natural force that you have in how you pull people towards you, how you lead, how you change the world, the impact that you're going to leave with your legacy. And I wanted to bring Edward on the show to really talk about how his gravitas has evolved over the years. Now, gravitas, in the way I've defined it, is a relatively new term. Previously, gravitas was only given to leadership. That was what they said, leadership, gravitas.
We're leaders though, aren't we?
Every one of us.
We're all leaders.
We all have gravitas.
Well, that means we can use it.
Precisely. So, Edward, how would you define your gravitas today?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because when I was at the gym this morning, I did a video on how I lost my mojo. So I don't know what it is. I kind of interpret gravitas as mojo. It's probably wrong. I'm probably miles off, but that's my weird interpretation of it. But you know how I define my gravitas? To me, my gravitas is having that passion and inspiration and daily consistency to really stick to what matters.
That's interesting. But why do you think you've lost your mojo?
Well, I actually lost my mojo. I've got it back now. Okay. I lost my mojo in my mid to late 30s.
Right.
And I was actually thinking about this morning, especially in light of this fantastic interview with such great viewers like yourselves watching. And what I think it is that several things that made me lose my mojo. One was making bad choices. Okay. So before I met my wonderful, awesome wife, Lassie, I made a few relationship choices that weren't very good. And you know what? That really took out a lot of my mojo. Second point that took out my mojo, I was just shoveling junk food in faster than you can say Nestle or Kentucky Fried Chicken, right?
Okay.
Right? And by the way, I love Nestle, great company. I drink Milo all the time.
We've all been there,
Totally.
Medicating with fast food.
So, and the third point, and this is where I really take the criticism of, I kind of lost my own belief in myself, and I really lost my mojo, and I would say my gravitas was an all-time low.
So you didn't find the passion within you on what you wanted to go for? Is it the next thing?
It's funny because I had the passion within me, but because I had the passion, but because I didn't believe I could achieve it, that always sort of quelled the passion. So
Right.
the passion hasn't been able to express itself until, relatively recently.
Wow. At that point in time, would you be able to identify what was your mastery? Do you know what was something that you were really good at, like your expertise in that moment?
Well, I think my expertise in that moment, was very good. I was actually started doing videos. I started doing videos at that point on Facebook at the time, this was before LinkedIn took off. And it was actually at that time where I started doing really cool videos. And that actually helped me get my mojo back. Then over time, as LinkedIn came to power, thank you to those awesome people at Microsoft, that's when I came in and did all the really, really cool stuff.
Oh, wow.
Such as when I took off on LinkedIn and all that. So it's been good, it's been interesting. A lot of factors, but I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's an interesting one.
Okay. And in terms of, so what I see in that is that it was probably your values that were driving some of your decisions, your values and your beliefs that were
Yes.
driving some of the decisions that led you to feel like, okay, you're just in a bad place, and therefore did it feel like life was on hold at that point in time?
A little bit. I did feel definitely like the mouse in the wheel, like spinning my wheels. And I can say this as a very old man, right? I'm very old. I am so very old.
I'm
right?
young. I'm older than him.
No, Jen's way younger. I'm an old man, very old. See, no hair, right? But this is what I realised in hindsight, awesome Jen, and to our wonderful viewers. What it actually was this. I didn't feel like I could achieve what I wanted. And it was that niggling belief that always pulled me back and basically just kept me spinning in a wheel. And it wasn't until later in life where I started to really get behind myself and that motivation started to come back as a result.
When did you start seeing the turning point in your life?
It was about a year before I met my wonderful wife, Lassie. That's when I started to turn everything around. So that's when I started to realise I'm a bit of a loser right now. I need to turn things around. And it was really good. I started turning things around. And it's funny, actually, the video I did this morning at the gym was never, ever lose your mojo. If you lose your mojo, get it back quickly, but never, ever lose your mojo. Now I've got my mojo back. I can tell you I'm so not going to lose it. Going to keep it. It's going to be great. It's going to be tremendous. Mojo's great.
Oh. Sounds like someone we know, doesn't it?
No one knows mojo more than me. I created mojo. I was there. It's my mojo. It's mine. And you're great. True patriot.
To some of our viewers listening in, this whole bit about your mojo, that spunk, that thing that gets you out of bed and excited, like you feel like you want to conquer the world.
Totally.
And then when one day you wake up and you lose it, and it feels like it happened overnight, I'll tell you it didn't. From my personal experience, it rarely does happen like that. In fact, in the majority of us, it happens bit by bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. You erode it over time. You erode it without noticing. I agree with you.
Exactly. And sometimes it can start with the simplest thought of, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you start seeking evidence. You say that often enough to yourself and you start seeking evidence of how you're not good enough. When actually you're freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's what you choose to focus on in that moment.
Yeah.
If you find yourself saying those negative thoughts, go, Jenny and Edward say, focus on the good stuff.
Yeah.
And just say to yourself, I'm freaking awesome.
Yeah.
That's it.
Totally awesome. You're great. You're a winner. Winner on every level. True patriot. Winner. Awesome. Great. You can do that.
Yeah.
You can do
Winner,
impersonations.
not a wiener.
Yeah. Winner, not wiener. Whoa. That's in sausages. We're talking about sausages, nothing else. Nothing else.
After you turned your life around, when did you start seeing the difference?
I would say about, I remember actually the sort of day that I did it, when I really started saying, I got to turn my life around. This sucks what I'm doing, right?
So it was rock bottom.
Yeah, it was rock bottom because, interestingly enough, I used to be actually quite successful in my 20s, right? And I was like, what the hell happened to me? I'm just this loser all of a sudden.
What did you do in your 20s?
Well, actually, after my military days, before I went crazy due to PTSD and wound up living in a car on DY Beach, right? I was actually a very successful corporate. In fact, I used to be the marketing director at West Point Casino in Hobart at the peak of my career. And then, of course, went all crazy from the PTSD, and that was a slide down for me. right?
Shucks.
That was in the military. Another story for another time. Anyway, the point I'm making though is that I kept reflecting back on that, thinking, "Oh, I used to be really cool and some loser." And what I did was I just started turning. This is what I say, just baby steps. I started losing the weight, turning things around, and about 10, 11 months later, I met the wonderful Lassie. Became a wonderful wife, and we got children, and it's great. And that's what happened. But it all started with me, just that slow turnaround and that sort of thing.
It's gorgeous.
Baby steps every day. So I agree with your erosion comment. It's not like you're a winner and you become a loser.
No.
Or you're a loser and become a winner. It's definitely the gradual process that occurs.
It feels like a marathon when you're trying to become, when you're coming from a very dark and lonely place in your life, when you're trying to get into the light. It can feel like a marathon trying to get there. But the crash and burn sometimes just feels like it's overnight when it's not. So what we're saying is, we both agree, is give yourself that time to grow, to learn, get help, really. Yeah. Did you get help at that point in time?
I actually did a little bit later on. So what happened was, around about that period, I actually had two of my wonderful mentors. Two people I want to give a shout out to, both from the United Kingdom, Brad Burton and Stephen Thomas.
Hello, Brad and Stephen.
Yeah, and Brad and Stephen, you guys are great. I actually went to the UK. I actually went on a business trip for about 30 days, and most of it was set in the UK. And I had Brad Burton and Stephen Thomas personally mentor me, and that really helped me get my mojo going again, because they really got in my heads and did some great work. And a lot of my success today, I actually credit to Brad Burton and Stephen Thomas, who are great people.
Awesome.
And in fact, a lot of my coaching and thinking actually comes from those two originators.
Wow.
Even my LinkedIn influencer site, a lot of it comes from a mixture of Stephen Thomas and Brad Burton.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you for doing the work that you do, as you change lives. And now he gets to change lives.
It's awesome.
So now tell us about the lives that you changed and how that shapes your gravitas.
Well, I've got a very, if I can go extreme on you, right? We actually worked out this the other day, is that I've actually interrupted, over the past 2 years, I've interrupted at least 20 people from committing suicide.
Wow.
So I'm going to go straight to the extreme, because I'll tell you where it all happened, right? It's happened quite a bit. I've had people reach out to me, and I just think, it might be on LinkedIn, they might call me, whatever. And I think it's a pretty innocuous conversation. I just steer, some people often reach out to me in very dark points in their lives, and quite often a month later they actually said to me, yeah, and I was actually about to kill myself and you talked me out of it without realising. I was like,
wow.
Happened about 20 times. It's happened about 20 times in the past 2 years. So that's an extreme example, literally, intervening in that situation. On a more business level, it's helping people take off as influencers, go from being relative nobodies to being seen thousands of times by daily high-value audiences globally. That's good.
That's pretty impressive.
Cool.
So now, what is your mastery?
Right now, my mastery is driving my influencer status and driving conversion. So lately, I used to do a mere 5 posts a day. Pathetic, right? Everyone does 5 posts a day, right? Everyone does it, right? And I looked in the mirror and I said, Ed, everyone is doing 10 posts a day. You're a loser only doing 5. So now I do. So now I've been posting about 10 times a day on LinkedIn. And literally, it's been that more stuff going down.
Wow. So
it's been great.
So your mastery has also in fact impacted your influence.
Well, the thing is, I suppose, exactly, I think it's a very good feedback loop in that the more your influence grows is the more emboldened you become. And then as you become more emboldened, you put out more stuff, and then you become more of an influencer. So, for example, if I go back to older Ed, where I was all underconfident in that, I'd be, I don't want to do a video. What if someone doesn't approve of me? Right?
What if I get a critic?
Oh my God, I get like 5 a day now. I'm blocking all the time. You trolls, I'm going to find you. No, just kidding. That was a joke.
I know.
Joke.
I'll help you find him.
Joke. Yeah, I'm just so hard to find. It's like, if someone said, I want to assassinate Ed. Yeah, it's fine. Just follow him on. There he is. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah,
but the point is that, but what I was saying, and I can say this in all seriousness, if you're feeling underconfident about yourself, it's very hard to become an influencer because you're not going to stick out a video on Insta or Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever you're using, right? So you sort of need that original belief to kick you off. But this is interesting, actually. The more your influence becomes, and I know you're going through the same thing, Jen, and it's really cool, this. As your influence increases, you become naturally emboldened, right? And the more you get trolled and abused, is the more resistant you get to being trolled and abused, right? So again, the more your influence takes off, is the more powerful that you get.
Water off the duck's back.
Totally.
Yeah. And now let's talk about your values. How you are right now in the way you're established in your business and in the influence that you have.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 values?
Yeah, I'd say my top 3 values are probably definitely taking action. I'll say win-win, right? And also resilience. They're probably the top 3 values that, at least consciously, are going through my mind right now.
Wow. What has been the hardest, or I would say the most difficult thing you've had to do in the last year?
Most difficult thing I've had to do is probably get really used to the idea of, now, just to the term being an influencer, right? I get seen at least 12,000 times a day, right? And I didn't wake up one day and said, "Hi, I'm an influencer now," and I didn't start selling my bathwater. I didn't start doing that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Instagram girl. Anyway,
Yeah, I know.
Right? But I didn't just wake up one day and go, "Oh, everyone, I'm an influencer. Let's go for it. Bathwater, $50." I didn't do that, right? People were calling me an influencer. So it's not me calling myself an influencer. That's not a self-elected title. I've been called that. And as people started calling me an influencer, I kind of, okay, I guess I am. I started owning the title after a while, right? And I think getting used to the idea of being so prominent in the public space, I'm still getting used to it, actually. Like, some days I'll wake up a bit on edge, right? Or sometimes I might get trolled a bit, and sometimes the trolls might get through a crack in my armour, right? Usually they don't, they're a bunch of morons. But yeah, it's been interesting, I think, dealing with that public exposure, but also dealing with so much emotions in one day, because you got, my LinkedIn's crazy, it's just glowing all the time, and you deal with a lot of crazy stuff, and sometimes it can be quite emotionally exhausting.
It's like a roller coaster ride.
And it speeds up, so the more so let's say a few years ago, my roller coaster ride's going like that. When you're like at a serious level, it's like you're doing that. It's like the roller coaster is more oscillating every second, right? It can be a very intense emotional journey I could be talking to someone about a serious topic such as suicide, right through to something joyous in the space of a few minutes.
Yeah.
So it's that compressed emotional journey I've had a lot to get used to.
Oh, wow. Okay. I remember there was one post that you did where you talked about the troll who corrected your English.
Oh, that happens all the time. That happens like at least 4 times a week. 4 times a week.
And I remember one of the comments said, "Why didn't you just engage them?" And you went, nah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, why not?
Well, the thing is, just to let you know a bit of backstory about me. As I said, I'm an old guy. I'm actually a big guy from the 90s. I used to play video games a lot, and I will get back to that. Don't you worry about that.
And something else as well, but yeah.
Yeah, I used to play video games all the time, and I was really good at it, right? And I don't know if you're probably a little bit young to remember the 90s, Jen, but in the 90s, right? In the 90s, a long time ago.
Flattery will get you anywhere.
Yeah. In the 90s, I used to play a lot of video games, and trolling was sort of when it took its form. So when you play a lot of video games, trolling people is quite normal, right? And I can't say it here because it's against probably every LinkedIn term and condition there is, right?
Okay.
But we used to say unspeakable stuff to each other. And I'll tell you now, the stuff we used to say to each other while gaming does not compare. That was real trolling in the 90s.
But that was a digital blood sport.
Yeah, exactly. But in the 90s, that was real trolling. Trolls today don't know what they're doing, right? That was real trolling. So deep down in this beautiful, handsome exterior beats the heart of an evil troll. There's a bit of troll in me, right? Now, the thing is, I want to engage with the trolls. Because I can out-troll anyone. But I don't.
Okay.
Because it's against terms and conditions. I don't want to do that. I don't want to create a positive experience. So it's not that I'm afraid of the troll. To the contrary, I'm actually protecting the troll from me. It's the actual opposite. I'm actually blocking it, not for the reasons people think. It's like, I actually want to engage with that troll. But it's sort of like, I'm smart enough to know when I need to take my hand out of the cookie jar and just walk away.
Put the gloves back on.
Yeah, it's like someone will say something to you and I'm like, oh, no, delete, block. That's it. Because I can out-troll anyone. Make no mistake, I can out-troll anyone.
Ooh.
But I won't. I'll just delete and block you. It saddens me, but you have to, because you've got to remember,
That's the social guidelines that they have.
Well, I'm going to play LinkedIn police for the moment, right? Now, LinkedIn terms and conditions I think are awesome, and they do a great job. Microsoft and LinkedIn do a great job. Now, the thing is that if someone trolls you, that's against, depending on what it is, that's probably against LinkedIn terms and conditions. Even though they trolled you first, you trolling them back is against LinkedIn terms and conditions. So just because, like, the defense, they started it, doesn't actually hold up.
Right.
So I just delete and block, don't engage with them because it protects you, it protects your account, and also make sure all your other viewers has a positive digital experience.
Interesting. I recently had a troll on my Facebook.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, and it was...
Was that me?
No.
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 I'm trolling.
And it was fascinating for me. I'm so used to, on Facebook especially, you get all sorts. You can't quite control that.
Oh, a lot of weirdos.
Plenty.
A lot of weirdos.
And whereas on LinkedIn, you're going to get a pedigree of trolls.
Yeah, and they're rare, to be honest, right? You don't get many trolls on LinkedIn.
No. You, as a woman, I do get, unusual advances on LinkedIn, and I say, well, let's just keep it professional. This is a professional site, and I'll shut it down. And they can't adhere to that, we're not going to engage, which is relatively straightforward. Whereas on Facebook, it's bizarre.
It's a bizarre place.
It is a bizarre place. And so, identifying where you can say, all right, this is where I stop. You do what you got to do, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
And that, for me, is recognizing that this is my gravitas. It's not about me protecting my brand or anything like that, but this is where I stop, because this is not about me anymore. It's about you. And I'm not going to get into that with you. And that helps me to just define the boundaries in that sense.
Sounds really good.
Yeah. How do you see your gravitas evolving? Because now I know that you're doing exercise, and that's become part of your LinkedIn videos.
It has. In fact, after this, I might do some push-up videos, just with a bridge in the background. Now, it's funny where my gravitas is going is because a lot of people have actually picked up, especially a lot of the stylists, is that I have restyled over the past few months. So wearing more sports clothes, got now the head shaved, hitting the gym 5-6 times a week. So I think where it's going, and I'm sort of doing this, every day for me is a whole journey. So for me, where I think this is all going is more going to more like health, empowerment. Originally I used to stick pretty much to sales and marketing. Where now I'm going to really the whole influence and persuasion, whole lifestyle thing.
Okay.
So the whole lifestyle's kicking into it. So what I'm actually talking about is actually been broadening. So ironically, a lot of people say, well, I'm getting more specialised and focusing on this niche. I've actually been the direct opposite. I find myself under an umbrella broadening slightly to encompass more sales, marketing, influence, persuasion, but also lifestyle as well.
Oh, interesting. How is that changing your following or your influence, the people you influence?
Well, it's actually increased it. So what I found is that when I'll use LinkedIn just to keep the conversation tight, right? But if I let's say just, hi everyone, this is Edward. Your elevator pitch is just boring, right?
And that's what everyone else talks about.
Exactly. But if I go and do push-ups or something crazy or say, hey, you awesome friends, this is your pal. When I do that crazy stuff, that's when it gets seen thousands of times and I get tons of leads. So I found that the more eccentric I take it and the more energetic I take it is the more compelling it becomes. So for me, it's been making it more compelling, but also more health-focused and more lifestyle-focused. And I think where it's going is, to be honest, I don't quite know where it's going, but it's going, I can't tell you exactly where it's going, but I can say it's heading the right way.
All right. One of the key things that I've seen with influence, because a lot of people ask me, how do I start? And when we first came up, when we first heard the word influence, it was about celebrities,
Yeah.
right? Because of Hollywood.
It's about Instagram.
It's about Instagram. It's about the Kardashians, which is not.
And Kanye.
Yes.
Hey, y'all.
And
I love Kanye.
And then you have where, people thought influence was about, I want to be like Warren Buffett or Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Or now Mark Zuckerberg. It was about following the people who are very influential, very successful business people. And I said, well, actually, influence starts with 3 groups of people. The people who are ahead of you, 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, follow them because they're doing the right things to get, they're just 1 or 2 steps ahead. You can just track them.
Totally.
The people who are at the same level as you, trying to get on that trajectory as well. And then you have a third group, other people who are 1 or 2 steps behind you. And if you can influence, it's not about changing them, but it's about changing yourself. And that encourages them to follow you and change their own lives. That's the real power of influence. And I find that as you get better with this muscle called influence, that's when you start widening that sphere. So it's instead of just 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, it's people 10 steps ahead of you because you're on that game already.
Wow.
How do you see your influence?
It's interesting, actually, because my influence is relatively new, right? I only recently took off on LinkedIn, so I'm still sort of reeling from that and interpreting the experience. For me, though, however, I think the whole journey of influence is just leading by example. So whenever I share content, it's not me putting on a front or doing an act. It's more me actually going through what I'm actually feeling. So I suppose in a way, the reason why I give you funny answers about I don't know exactly where it's going is because I'm not so much following a script saying this is what I want to do. I'm more just unpacking the story as I go along. But I think it's a very authentic experience, and ultimately the people that I've been, including yours himself, Jenny, the great people I've been able to meet and get exposed to across the world, very authentic, amazing people all on a similar journey. So I see it as a coalescing of brilliant people. So it's not like, oh, I'm an influencer and here's my bathwater and I'm just awesome. It's more like, hey, we're all in this together and we're all on this very cool winning journey together. And I'm going to say as well, a big shout out to Bill Gates, LinkedIn and Microsoft. It's LinkedIn has been the technology to facilitate this journey, not just for me, but for yourself, for
a lot of people.
Hundreds of thousands of people in the world. LinkedIn's give us the ability to do that, which never existed before that.
No, quite right, yep. Very cool. We're going to come to the fun segment now, right? Because all the serious talk is putting people to sleep,
Yeah.
It happens. So, I've asked Edward to flash his muscle.
Oh, yeah, I've been working out. Is that big?
Oh,
yeah.
You can't see it under that.
I can't.
Because he works out like 6 times a week.
There we go. Getting bigger now. A lot of the gym people will be going, oh, that guy, he's like wire thin. But no, seriously, there we go. Getting bigger now. Getting bigger.
I'm seeing the guns.
Yeah, I need the guns. I need the guns. I'm an old man now, so if I don't work out, I need like Zimmer frame, It's tough, It's not easy being an influencer. I got all these attractive people worldwide going, oh, Ed, you're weak, you're fire, and so I got to really deliver.
All right, answers in two words or less. Okay. Favorite word.
You're awesome.
Favorite place in the world.
Sydney.
Okay.
That's why I live here.
Let me think.
I'm not from Sydney, so I originally chose to live here, hence why I love Sydney.
Sorry, I'm doing this totally impromptu, as you can tell.
It's improv.
All right, I'll give you 5 words for this one.
Okay.
One thing for our viewers to take away.
Post, awesome, daily content, all the time. It's like a haiku. Is it a haiku? It's not a haiku, those weird little 11 bell. Can you do a haiku? I think they're weird. Let's do a haiku. Bill Gates is the awesome, most guyest ever. He's so cool. I don't know. Is that a haiku?
No, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, okay.
Well, this has been a treat. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
And guys, catch us on the next episode. I don't know who I'm going to interview yet, but I'm so glad we got to do this today.
Jenny, I was going to say it's been an honour and thank you. And if you are watching this, Jenny, amazing high-end career coach. Make sure you engage her services and hire Jenny because she rocks so much.
And if you want to know why I do videos so well, he's the guy. I remember that first time Edward and I sat down together. It took me 3 tries to do my videos.
Yeah.
With Edward.
Was that WeWork in Piedmont?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
there. I was there. I was at WeWork in Piedmont.
And before that, it took me 20 tries before I finally gave up and sent him a message like, I can't do this, obviously. You need to help me.
Yeah.
And that was it. That changed my life. So guys, follow this guy. He's really cool. He is a marketing genius. I've watched him scale his business in the last 18 months. It's pretty cool. And he's got a marketing vault. You need to get onto that.
Yeah.
Seriously, you want to tell them a bit about marketing vault?
Yeah, the marketing vault's awesome. Sign up to it. It's great. Yeah. No, it's seriously good. It's awesome. Just add me on LinkedIn. Ask me about it and we'll talk and I'll tell you great stuff. And just want to say it's going to be great on over there. It's going to be great. It's tremendous. Real news. Real news.
All right. Thank you, Ed.
Pleasure. Thank you, guys.
So cool.
Thank you, Jenny.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
We're going to enjoy the view now. Bye-bye.